I've recently been watching as well as enjoying some YouTube videos of a British YouTuber who provides interesting content that concerns variety of topics such as migration, identity politics, minorities, political parties and culture. This YouTuber offers interesting cultural views that sometimes I find myself agreeing with. He is also known for his controversial stances and brave utterances, which I do appreciate as far as freedom of speech is concerned. This guy has almost 2 million subscribers and thousands of reactions, which reflect the success of his discourses. However, I came across a video of his collection entitled
"Some cultures are better than others.
The West is the best. Cultural relativism is bullshit." That video got me thinking of making this video as a reaction. My video is not political and has nothing to do with partisanship. It is simply a sort of genuine comment that sheds light on how problematic his statements are. My video is made for educational, academic purposes as well. The amount of reactions and affirmations of Mr. Watson's discourse is interesting and demonstrates a severe misconception of what culture is as a separate case. His discourse also ignores the questionable historical events that shape the Western cultural identity. Therefore, I would like you to watch that video before watching mine in order to put yourself in a context. My video is made of 2 parts. In the first part, we attempt to provide a general view on culture and the misconceptions of it, and how cultural relativism and acculturation are defined and manifested as features that indicate humans' evolution. The second part is quite sophisticated because it sheds light on the critical aspect of cultures and how some cultures may seem inferior in comparison to the Western counterpart. Without further ado, let us reflect upon Mr. Watson's first statement. He says, "Some cultures are better than others." Is this true? Or is it a statement overloaded with subjectivity and confirmation bias? What do we mean by culture in the first place? Here are some focused definitions of culture made by scholars that I choose for you. Culture refers to the cumulative deposit of knowledge, experience, beliefs, values, attitudes, meanings, hierarchies, religion, notion of time, roles, spatial relations, concepts of the universe, and material objects and possessions acquired by a group of people in the course of generations through individual group striving. Culture is a system of knowledge shared by a relatively large group of people. Culture is a collective programming of the mind that distinguishes the members of one group or category of people from another. Now, away from any sort of political correctness, thanks to these definitions, we may infer that culture has the faculty of exclusivity to specific groups of people, meaning that each group culturally represents itself differently and distinguishes itself from other groups. Do these differentiations make one culture better than the other?
No.
No. Why not? Simply because each culture has its unique features. Every culture is special to its producer. It serves the needs of its owner. We cannot adopt a qualitative perspective and apply objectivity in political correctness on cultural manifestations unless if some of these manifestations are harmful. Therefore, they should be corrected to ensure the safety of a human and his environment. Culture is never objective or perfect. It serves each group according to their needs and interests. You may find good things and bad things in each culture, which is usually a subjective view. And here, I want to draw your attention that one should distinguish between politicized ideologies that serve the interest of one specific class on the expense of the other class or other subculture. For example, political agendas and extreme ideological discourses are highly politicized, but culture itself is naturally spontaneous. Now let us reflect on Mr. Watson's statement that says cultural relativism is bullshit. Is it really bullshit? What do we mean by cultural relativism anyway? Here is one definition. It is how different cultural groups think, feel, and act differently. So, there are no specific standards for considering one group as intrinsically superior or inferior to another. In other words, cultures are inherently different in the sense that each culture has its own specificities, but at the same time, all cultures are equal to the eye of the beholder. To make things down to earth, see it this way. We have two different cultural productions. One in a couscous dish, which is popular in Moroccan culture, and a pasta, which is popular in Italian culture. So, they are different indeed, but they are equal in terms of concept. You may not like the taste of couscous and prefer the other. Another person will prefer couscous instead. This fact does not necessarily make couscous bad or pasta bad. They are both different in their own way and equal at the same time. A wise person would not hold judgment on different cultural productions and practices, but would be open to develop greater understanding on how different each culture is. Actually, each culture means to its people. It functions better in its specific time and place. Culture also expresses the specificities of its context. One important element that Mr. Watson misses is the ongoing process of acculturation between civilizations and generations. There is no absolute culture, and there is no beginning of culture, as there is no absolute race, so to speak. Culture and communication are exposed to updates according to the experience of each individual, group, or civilization. We cannot limit culture and put it in a frame. Culture is in all places. It's in the air and everywhere. Where there is a human, there is a culture. All cultures influence each other through history. This happens sometimes directly or indirectly. Cultural influence and cultural exchange happen because a human is simply a sociable being. All of us have an urge to discover the others in their culture via trade, tourism, science, interracial marriages, or even colonialism, to show that no culture is absolute or better than the other, and that all cultures affect each other. Let's start with Mr. Watson's claim that considers the West as the pioneers of sciences.
In terms of individual freedom, economic prosperity, intellectual advancement, technological progress, the arts and medicine, the West provided the blueprint for the ascent of humanity.
So, what about the major contributions of the Arab-Islamic world to the medieval Europe? We have the case of Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, who is known as the father of algebra. His contribution to mathematics, geography, astronomy, and cartography established the basis for innovation in algebra and trigonometry. The man's contribution paved the way to Western scholars and scientists to have full grasp on these sciences afterwards. Al-Khwarizmi's work also introduced the numerals 0 to 9, which consequently revolutionized humans' capacity to engage in science and trade. Ibn Rushd, or Averroes, was also an influential figure in the rise of secular thought in Western Europe. He had major impact on Italian theologist and philosopher Thomas Aquinas in the 13th century. Cultural interaction was the norm during the Abbasid Empire. This empire invested in knowledge and sciences. It facilitated intellectual exchange from China to Spain to sub-Saharan Africa, thanks to its stable trade system. The Arab world did help the Western civilization to retrieve and recover much of the classical Greek learnings in literature, which in fact helped European civilization to stand on its feet. The Renaissance itself was heavily inspired by the Greco-Roman culture in terms of sciences, politics, literature, philosophy and art, which demonstrates that cultures are constantly affecting each other. There is no original culture. It is an ongoing process of give and take and acculturation. All of these facts deconstruct the premise of the Clash of Civilization book written by the political scientist Samuel Huntington, who expressed his extreme views that portrays civilizations and cultures as antagonists to each other, especially the Arab culture and its Western counterpart. The notion of Islam versus Christianity is heavily ideological and political and serves the interests in some groups. Cultures, on the other hand, are more or less cooperative and defined by constant exchange. It's a continuous conversation between civilizations rather than an exclusive discourse owned by one culture. The Clash of Civilization book seems to be influential in Mercer Watson's discourses.
Western civilization against cultural relativism, into sacrificing our own culture and allowing it to be supplanted by inferior cultures.
Cultural relativism and acculturation have always been and always will be. It's an expression of humans' evolution, people meant to migrate and mingle and explore the world around them. It is something unstoppable because it's a human nature.